Good evening, everyone. We're going to begin our meeting here in about 2 seconds on a formal level. So welcome, everyone. All right. I hereby call this meeting of the Sacramento Metropolitan Fire District to order. And would you please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Thank you all very much. We now have our Metro Cable announcement. The open session meeting is videotaped for cablecast on Metro Cable 14, replay on Saturday, March 24th, 2018 at 12 noon, and Monday, March 26, 2018 at 6 p.m. on Channel 14. Webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. The open session meetings are also available for viewing on the district website at www.metrofire.ca.gov. We now come to the public opportunity to discuss matters of public interest within district jurisdiction, including items on or not on the agenda. Madam Speaker, do we have any?
It does appear we have one speaker this evening.
Welcome.
Sir, if you'd like to step up to the podium, I'll make sure the microphone is on and
I think this is.
give you a moment to speak.
Hello,
Welcome, Ray.
nice to see you. I'm Ray Reilly. I am on the board of the Citrus Heights Water District, but I'm not here to address that issue. Right now, I'd like to thank your board clerk, Melissa. I live on Larkspur Lane in Orangevale, which is just near Oak and Kenneth. And we had somebody decide to put a speed bump on the end of the street. And I requested from the district, because the county doesn't have apparent authority on a non-county road, but I know fire equipment needs to get up and down the road. So I requested that you take a look at this and see if we can have this impediment removed. And shortly after I sent the email, I got a call, and I believe the issue is being addressed. And I just wanted to thank you for the timely response, because sitting on a board, I understand how the public hits you with stuff, and they don't always come back and acknowledge the good work that's been done. It hasn't resolved the issue yet, but I look forward to seeing that happen soon.
Well, thank you very much for the feedback loop. It's greatly, greatly appreciated. And thank you, Madam Clerk, for following up on Ray's issue.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Okay. We are now on consent items, and if there are no
Madam
questions.
Chair, I move approval of the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Director Gale.
I didn't hear what it was.
Okay. Director Gould.
It's okay. Director Gale, we're on the consent item. If you-
Which one?
The consent items,
Let's see.
minutes, and financial services.
Wasn't it?
Aye.
Director Orzali.
Aye.
Director Sheets.
Aye.
Director Wood.
Aye.
Director Clark.
Aye.
Director Kelly.
Aye.
And Director Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Moving on to presentation items. We have Fill the Boot for Burns, Chiefs Challenge Award. Mike, Mr. Mike Daw, welcome to the podium.
Thank you very much. Got my lovely assistant here, Delaney. Thank you for having me. It's always a joy being here. A little bit about myself. You guys gave me a resolution when I retired a couple years ago, and I didn't say thank you. I didn't know how important that was to me until I hung it in my office. Had a quick little review of my career, and I was very thankful to have that. So I do appreciate that. I think that's a very kind gesture. And we did miss one thing on there, though, and it was very important to me. I was here, the highlight of my career actually was getting a presentation, not unlike what I'm going to do tonight, But for my involvement with the Fill the Boot for Burns and the Firefighters Burn Institute and Forrest Rowell and I, Battalion 5B shift, living up in that fire truck for 20 years, got recognized for doing that, and it was like it was an unbelievable feeling for me to get that award tonight. I don't know that Chief Harms is going to get that same feeling tonight, because I think he may have done some other cool stuff besides living in a fire truck. But I will tell you that with the Chiefs Challenge that we have during the Fill the Boot for Burns event, this is the 11th year that we've done this. And, you know, it's had varying levels of earnings, so to speak. And this year, there was a really big push, and by Chief Harms himself, I was unbelievably astounded at how much money he raised. I actually thought that Chief McLaughlin from Cosumnes was going to beat him, but that was not the case. As you guys know, Chief Harms is connected to burn foundations through Arizona Burn Foundation, and has taken on ours wholeheartedly, which I greatly appreciate. It's that push that you're giving us is worth its weight in gold. And unfortunately, the trophy's not made of gold, but it has sat in your office many times, and it's going to be back there starting tonight. So for those interested, Chief Harms and his esteemed colleagues raised $10,066, which singularly is just a record breaker. And then overall, all the chiefs, we had 6 chiefs, Cosumnes, Sacramento County Airports, Roseville, and Folsom, and they raised $17,021. This has never happened before. And so to put dollars and cents to what it does for our programs, that is 34 kids to camp. It's 8 nurses to the American Burn Association conference, stuff like that. So you can actually start putting some reality to what these dollars do. And as a foundation, even though we're very small, we have an impact that's actually nationwide. And I couldn't do it without Metro Fire's involvement, and certainly with Chief Harm at the helm, you know, pushing that. I do appreciate that. So I have a couple at my lovely assistant here. So I have a plaque for the district. I don't know where that one goes, and I guess Chief, you can have all these. Okay, we're going to shake hands and lean towards the paparazzi. I think it's around here somewhere. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That's for the district. Here's one for you personally.
All right.
It's almost the same, but different. Has your name on it. And then the perpetual trophy, which can I get a collective ooh and ah? This is. Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh,
That's a wrist breaker right there. Oh yeah. There we go.
here, come on.
Delaney, get in there. Get in there.
Come on, somebody.
Get in there. There we go.
We gotta have the assistant in there, right?
That's right.
Let me get that clock out there. Let's go in front of the screen.
Let's do that.
Go
that way. Go that way.
Where are you guys going? Look, they don't. You were supposed to put chairs down. You know this is on TV. You've been on the whole time.
Come on, you guys have been involved in the boot drive many times. It's okay.
Put your lovely assistant up front.
All right, 1, 2, and. Good. Perfect.
No, it's the other shoulder.
Thank you very much.
We don't get asked questions of Mr. Dahl? Mr. Dahl, I think he needs to stay there. I don't think we've released him yet.
Imagine his friend Shannon's hungry. He just told me he's hungry.
All right, thank you, Mr. Daw. And Chief, congratulations. You can put that in the weight room and work out with it, yeah. Okay. Thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Round of applause.
Nice to see you.
Okay, thank you again. All right, presentation item number 2, Arson Division Update. Assistant Chief Wagaman and Supervising Investigator Barsdale will give us a presentation. Welcome to the podium, gentlemen.
Thank you. Good evening, Tyler Wagaman, Assistant Chief Operations on the B shift, as well as the distinct honor to oversee the Fire Arson Investigations Unit. Recently, we received a request from Director Orzali to provide the board with some specific information regarding the investigations unit operation as a whole. Supervising Investigator John Barsdale has worked hard putting together a presentation for you this evening. And with that, I would like to turn the microphone over to Investigator Barsdale. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Wagaman. Board of Directors, Chief Harms, staff, good evening. Before I go into the presentation, a little background on who I am. My name is John Barsdale. I'm the supervising investigator for the fire investigation. I have been with the agency about 20 years now. My family has been involved in the fire service for over 50 years in this region with successor districts. I'm married to Lisa Barsdale, who's a deputy fire marshal in CRRD, and my brother Brent works at Station 106 B shift on the truck as the engineer. You've all seen me over the past 5 years as director of 522. I've been managing the fire investigation unit for the past 4 years. Some of the task force fundamentals that we do in the arson unit is the task force goal is to develop procedural practices to sufficiently investigate all crimes related to fire and explosive incidents within the unincorporated areas of the county. What this means is that since we've joined a task force with the Sheriff's Department, EOD division, we cover some areas outside of Metro's jurisdiction. If I can figure out which one to turn to the next slide. Okay. A little bit of a background in history. In the late 80s, local fire agencies took over full fire investigations in the county of Sacramento. The Sacramento Sheriff's Department did not have dedicated staff to investigate the growing number of fires occurring in the county. The American River Fire District and the Sacramento County Fire Districts were the largest two agencies in the unincorporated areas of the county with the dedicated fire investigators. American River had 2 full-time investigators augmented with fire inspectors as needed and clerical. Sacramento County had 2 full-time investigators at the time of the merger. With the merger of both agencies in 2000, the division consisted of 4 full-time investigators, 1 supervisor, 3 investigators, with 1 full-time clerical. Following the merger and development of the Metro Fire's Fire Investigation Unit, FIU, staffing was increased to 6 in 2006. The staff changed to 24-hour shifts to provide investigative services around the clock to reduce after-hour response times. In 2009, due to the downturn in the economy, the FIU was reduced to 70%. The staffing consisted of a supervisor, 2 investigators spread across 3 shifts. The FIU lost 3 investigators, 1 juvenile fire setter coordinator, and clerical. In 2014, as an effort to provide additional support, research and development was conducted in a task force concept with the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department Explosive Ordnance Division, EOD. The EOD was comprised of 7 part-time members, each having other full-time duties. After much discussion and planning, a proposal was presented to the County Board of Supervisors for funding the necessary sheriff deputy positions to fully staff the task force. The County Board approved the staffing 1 sergeant, 2 detective positions for the task force. The current staffing for the arson bomb task force is 1 supervising investigator, 2 fire investigators, 1 on each shift for 24-hour shift or 4896. 1 EOD sergeant and 2 EOD detectives, which work a 10-hour schedule, a 4-10 schedule days, Mondays through Thursdays. How the task force functions. The 3 Metro members of the FIU work a 4896 schedule responding to calls for service. The investigators' primary duties is to determine the origin and cause of fires in the district. The 3 EOD detectives assist with large-scale fire scenes, investigations, and conduct follow-up on cases. All respond to active shooter and civil unrest incidents. Other duties that the fire investigators do is to assist the bomb squad with destructive devices calls, Molotov cocktails, field identification of destructive devices, and to relay back to the task force members and the EOD squad. These are some of the examples of what we've collected over the years. The above items were turned into Station 42, and they were included military and aerial mortars, simulated hand grenades in the center picture, and then military blasting fuses were all turned in at Station 42. Fireworks enforcement. It's something that we do every year. We currently start patrolling for fireworks from the 28th of June through July 5th. What's depicted in the picture is one of the busts. We average at least one large-scale bust a year. This particular one, we collected about 2,500 pounds of illegal fireworks. Regional EOD training was conducted at Station 52. Since we kind of combine the units, we kind of cross-train with some of the tasks that we can help the bomb squad with. They went out there to use some of our burn buildings to run their robots through so they can manipulate tight quarters with them and see what they need to work on and what they don't. They've also used the Zinfandel scene, area several times now for the same thing. They've used the bust and then some of the concrete structures out there. It's just to manipulate the robots so that they can do different areas just to broaden their skill set. The ongoing threat. The Fire Investigating Unit members of the Arson and Bomb Task Force respond to a variety of law enforcement incidents ranging from arson, homicide, to officer down calls. The attached photo is from the active shooter incident that took the life of a Sac County Sheriff deputy and wounded 2 CHP officers. 5 members of our Arson Task Force were among the first on scene. The ongoing relationship our investigators have with local law enforcement has been advantageous in large-scale incidents to help mitigate all types of incidents. Note the fire engine in the background of the photo, upper right-hand corner. Training. The members of the Fire Investigation Unit train to the same standards as the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department members. All weapons and qualification training is provided through the Sheriff's Department. Members are required to qualify on a biannual basis. Advanced Officer Training, AOT, is offered to fire investigators on a biannual basis through the Sheriff's Department. Continuing fire investigation training is provided by the California Conference of Arson Investigators on an annual basis, as well as updated fire investigation training through the SAC Regional Arson Task Force. Some of the training is butane oil labs, updates on NFPA 921. The continuing education brings us into compliance with NFPA 1033, the continuing education requirements for fire investigators. To effectively prepare for ever-changing environmental conditions, the Fire Investigator Unit continually identifies new training methods to challenge our members. Safety equipment, protective clothing. The fire investigators are equipped with all the same safety equipment as the firefighters. Structural and wildland turnouts, helmets, gloves, access to self-contained breathing apparatus, safety glasses and goggles, etc. We also adhere to the Sheriff's Department's general orders, as I said, and we have adopted, or pretty much it's their policy manual on how they conduct and do their investigations. Under the general orders, Metro Fire has adopted the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department general operation orders. The district provides its investigators with the same safety equipment that is issued to patrol-level deputies. Tactical vests, ballistic helmet, chemical agent, handcuffs, impact weapon, sidearm, and patrol rifle. This is the current, with the exception of Mike McGee, who's between Investigator Johnson and myself. He retired in December, and I'm proud to announce that Chris Rogers from Sonora, he went through our testing process, and he'll be starting with us the 11th of next month. And that's the end of my presentation. If there's any questions.
Any questions from board members? Director Ozali?
Well, John, thank you so much for this. I know I was a major pain in the rear in bringing this about, and I apologize for that a little bit. Have we ever had an incident in which one of our officers was called to assist another law enforcement agency, or do we respond automatically? Say, for example, to somebody. Before I bungle this any further, go ahead and tell me what you think.
Like the one I depicted in my presentation, that was an immediate need. So
Okay.
to kind of answer your question, we don't just go for calls for service for the Sheriff's Department or any other law enforcement agency. We have their same radio frequency, so we do monitor their radios. So if we happen to be there and it's one of those hot or hazardous calls, we will go and assist. And vice versa for us, as they do the same. Because when we go to a fire scene or we're out doing our follow-up and stuff in criminal investigations, we put ourselves out with the Sheriff's Department where our location is, so that if anytime we need help, we just key the mic and they send units our way.
So thinking about an event, let's say, God forbid, an active shooter on a campus or a mall, do we automatically respond to that?
Yes, we do, sir, just like the firefighters.
Okay, and so we automatically respond to that, and then what happens when we show up? How do you identify who's in charge of the incident?
Well, we all been through the training. Our role is a little different than the firefighters, since we have the training and the equipment to aid our brother law enforcement and sister law enforcement officers. What we're trained is once two peace officers are there, we go in. So if we're one of the first two people there, we go.
And last question, have we in Metro's history had an event where shots were fired by our staff?
Never.
Well, John, once again, I apologize for driving you nuts with this. I just think that what you do is phenomenally important, and that it also represents a significant potential liability for the department. And so I felt the board ought to be aware of you and congratulate you on the work that you do.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments from the board? All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. I'm so glad to hear that this is a great display of professionalism, working with all of our law enforcement partners as one unit, one team. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned integrating your police force. In my school district, Twin River School District, we have a police department. Are you involved with them? Are they involved in the same procedure? You remember, disrest and whatever?
Only when the schools, we have an incident at one of the schools. We actually have had one in the last 2 weeks. I had one this last rotation 2 days ago at a school where a juvenile set the bathroom on fire.
An amazing thing about my school district, we have schools in the city and in the county. Who is control of that? We spend a couple of $1 million on a private police force for that district. I brought it before the board of Sacramento City, and let's get some kind of update on how we're gonna handle that. Sometimes they forget that we have schools in the city and county.
I only could speak to the scenes that involved Sac Metro. The stuff that happens in the city, that I think the city PD takes care of that with them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
You bet.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen, thank you so much for the presentation. All right, we're moving on to action items. Number 1 is Copter 2, a lift and floor beam modification. We have Deputy Chief Bridge for a presentation, and this is an action item to approve the recommendation.
Okay, excuse me. Good evening, Directors, Chief Harms, Eric Bridge, Operations Chief. This evening I brought with me our Chief Pilot, Monty Van Lendingham, as he'll be able to speak to some of the, maybe some of the technical questions, if you have any regarding our request to improve the structural strengthening of our aircraft. So with that, I'll give it to Monty.
Thank you, members of the board, for inviting me here tonight, Chief Arms and Ms. Bonilla. Deputy Chief Bridge asked me to come here tonight to discuss this proposal on the modification for Copter 2, which is basically what we're trying to do is install what we call a 212 lift beam. As you know, a couple of years ago, we modified our Firecopter 1 with the complete modification. One of the major projects that we did, or one of the main emphasis that we had on that project, was the installation of this 212 lift beam. And what the 212 lift beam does, it's a structural membrane that goes into the aircraft, which does two major things for us. The first one is it increases your total lift capability of the aircraft. So you basically go from 9,500 pounds to 10,500 pounds. So even though that doesn't seem like a significant amount of weight, with the type of missions that we're flying, with the type of loads that we're doing, it is pretty considerable with what we're doing. But really, I think one of the major components of this 212 lift beam that is beneficial for the aircraft is because it enhances the structural integrity of the aircraft. So these are basically legacy aircraft that we're operating in. So the airframes are significantly old, but what happens here is that with the installation of the 212 lift beam, any type of significant loads that we do have on a continuous basis, it cuts down on the maintenance of any type of structural damage that we may have. So even though we currently only lift 9,500 pounds continuously at the most on these aircraft, when you do that over the years, structural problems start to happen. And so when that does happen, then obviously that incurs the cost for the department to repair those type of damages. As you also know, we've just recently had the incident with Copter 2 on June 16th, which was due to a hydraulic failure. And so since we had that aircraft down for those repairs at this time, what we'd like to try to do is go ahead and install that 212 lift beam also in Copter 2. So that way we keep the aircraft standardized, and obviously, just like what I was talking about before, it will keep that structural integrity of the aircraft for more years, what should I say, operational for more years than we would expect. Any questions?
I got a question.
All right, let's see. I believe Director Orzali, and then we'll go to Director Gale,
Okay.
and whoever else we'll put on the list.
You mentioned the age of the airframes. What would you expect? At what point do they just become unserviceable, or is...
Well, that's really hard to tell. So really, these aircraft can last pretty much for, I would say, for another 10, 20 years. Mm-hmm. You know, it really comes down to the type of maintenance that we're going to perform on those aircraft. Every year we do an annual on those aircraft. We go through the structural membranes of the aircraft, we inspect them and so forth. So if any type of damages occur at that time, we catch them in an early phase of it and we repair them. But like I was saying earlier, and we have found this in the past without the 212 lift beam in Copter 1 part installation, that we did find those structural cracks in the aircraft, and then that incurred a cost in the department to have them repaired. Since we put the lift beam in Copter 1, we've had no damages to those airframes upon inspections. And that's what we're trying to do here with Copter 2, is not only increase that, like I said, the lift capability of it, but also to increase the lifespan of those aircraft in the future, whatever it may hold for the department. But, yeah.
Thank you.
Director Gale.
I think that's a great use of money expended on those. There are some Bell era Cobras have been around 40 years. And when you do your x-rays and you structure the interior, it'll go on forever, really.
It will. It will. Absolutely correct.
That's a great
Yes.
use of money.
Yes, it is. And the other benefit to having the 212 lift beam now, we weren't actually, to tell you the truth, we weren't actually anticipating putting that lift beam in for another 2 to 3 years. But since we had the aircraft incident we're trying to take an unfortunate incident and make it better by, okay, now it's tore down, it's completely open, there's no additional cost to the department to have that beam installed, only just for the part itself. So we're just trying to take advantage of this opportunity here.
That way you don't have to have the guys jump out for your crack points and what have you, and it does. It's well-spent money. Extremely well spent.
Okay, thank you very much. Director Gould.
Madam Chair, thank you. I was just going to say, I think that's really the key point right here, is that given an unfortunate situation that the copter experienced, we're at a position where this is the ideal time to do it. And I think it's important that the public understand that y'all weren't just sitting in the hangar deciding what you could do to make Copter 2 more pretty, is that this is down under for repair for something that was already had been accomplished. And so I think this is, as my colleague has said, I think this is a really great time to expend this preventative dollar, and I think that will help us. So I'm fully supportive of the motion, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? All right, Chair will entertain a motion to approve the expenditure totaling $121,865.60 for the
Madam
lift
Chair.
beam and floor beam.
I'll make that motion that we adopt staff's recommendation.
Second.
It's been first and seconded. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Director Gale,
Yes.
Gould,
Aye.
Orzali,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Wood,
Aye.
Sheets. Aye. Clark.
Aye.
And Kelly.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks, Director.
And good luck.
Thank
You won't need it because you take care of all the have-to-dos.
Luck's all we do.
Yes, sir. All right, our second action item of the evening is the Sacramento Local Agency Formation Commission nominations for the Consolidated Redevelopment Oversight Board. And it goes to the board clerk and myself. Melissa, would you like to begin?
Sure.
Or I can go.
Good evening, Directors and Chief Harms. I'll start this evening with the item of the Redevelopment Oversight Board. So what you have before you is the Sacramento Local Agency Formation Commission, or LAFCO, is seeking nominations from special districts to serve on the Consolidated Redevelopment Oversight Board for Sacramento County. Currently, there are more than 400 redevelopment oversight boards throughout the state of California, and effective July 1st of this year, per Health and Safety Code, Section 34179, subsection J, the various redevelopment oversight boards in Sacramento County will be consolidated into one. So LAFCO may appoint one member from the special districts that are eligible to receive property taxes. And those special districts were outlined in Table A. They were found on page 16 of your board packet. And you probably noticed that Metro Fire is one of those agencies. And so tonight, in order to nominate a representative and/or alternate representative, the nomination must be made by a majority vote during an official board meeting and submitted to LAFCO no later than April 17th. And so that was a little bit of the background on what's before you, and I'll turn it over to Director Jones for the rest of the presentation.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. We're following the same selection process as we do for the special district nominations for the 2 special district seats on LAFCO. Metro is in a terrific position with a great opportunity to participate in this. And I would like to take this moment to nominate our Amanda Thomas, our Chief Financial Officer, for the position on the Consolidated Redevelopment Commission. And I would also like to nominate Jeff Fry as an alternate nominee. If that's the desire of this board, we will nominate them, and they will, within the next 30 days, I believe, Melissa, there will be a ballot sent out, and we will consider the official selection process with any and other nominations on the ballot. So with that, I'd like to entertain a motion for CFO Thomas and Jeff Fry to
I have a question,
complement.
Madam President.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So anyway, that's That's my motion. Can I get a second? And we'll have
Yes,
discussion.
I would second the motion.
Thank you. All right, open for discussion. Director Gale?
If we remember that the state of California just established that committee at least 6 or 7 years ago, Sacramento County, Sacramento City, some kind of hodgepodge thing they come up with, and still you don't have no answers. Michelle Dozier, who is the director of that, I can never find out who pays them for that since there's no money. Dave Gordon has been on there for about 16 years, I suppose, and I don't see what, what will be accomplished by that. But maybe there's an attempt that, you know the history of it, and officially there's no such organization. You see Palou's name there, but Dozier is the one who gets the money from the housing, whatever. She does a great job, as a matter of fact. She was a Mobilian, as well as she went to Highlands High School, and I think she was Phi Beta Kappa at Berkeley, as a matter of fact. Michelle Dozier is the director.
Well, I very much appreciate that background. This is I believe this is state law mandate here that we're dealing with. My understanding is that Metro Fire probably has the biggest amount of money to be redistributed. The point of this is to redistribute funds that were not used in proportion to the participation at each of these agencies. There were pass-through funds for, in the hopes of redevelopment that did not come to fruition totally, and so now it's being restructured. There are funds left over, and they need to be properly redistributed to those agencies who paid into it to begin with. I have full confidence that Amanda Thomas and Jeff Fry can handle this for us as well as the other 12 special districts and be fair, impartial, and professional on this. Are there any other questions or comments?
Madam Chairman, if we're finished with the educational portion of this motion, I move for a vote.
Okay, I'll second the call for the question. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Director Gale.
Very reluctant as knowing the history of it. Maybe they'll move into something and some of the mysterious questions I've asked over the years will be answered. I'll vote yes.
Gould.
Aye.
Orzali.
Aye.
Sheets.
Aye.
Wood.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Kelly.
Aye.
And Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you all very much for that support. I think Metro can do a great job representing all the special districts in this new endeavor. All right. President report. He's absent, he's not here, we will move on. The next one is the fire chief's report. Chief Harms and Deputy Chief Bridge.
Good evening, directors. It has been a busy couple of weeks since we last were together. As far as recruitments right now, we have out for internally for the battalion chief position. We'll run a test in the spring, early summer for that role in the district. We also have the procurement specialist that is out there. We had a promotion for the community risk specialist. Rebecca Alessandre is in that position. She was a member in the CRD and looked for a little bit different job and came over, so it was nice to have somebody from internally go right over into that position and is very well liked and very well known within the district. Attended a number of meetings with our command staff, base staff, and with the 522. Myself, Chief Castantini, Chief Johnson, and Jeff Fry had the opportunity to go to the Sac Metro State Legislative Summit. We spent the morning in some meetings and some sessions, and then the afternoon went over to the Capitol and spent the afternoon doing some meetings over there with our friends in the healthcare side of it. Sacramento Chiefs had met recently and had a little farewell luncheon that was followed that evening for Chief Walt White on his retirement. A number of you directors were there. Thank you for attending that, and it was a very, very well-attended event and very well attended by a lot of SAC Metro members and a lot of retirees. So it was a nice event. The last thing I did was just on St. Patty's Day was able to go down and see our firefighters together with the city firefighters marching downtown. And they had a nice event afterwards that was down there. That ends my report unless you have some questions. And the trophy, the nice trophy. If anybody didn't notice it.
Are there any questions for the
I have
fire
a
chief?
question to the chief.
Let the
Since
director
the
go.
Chamber of Commerce plays such a valuable, supposedly, role in here, I would like to be invited, knowing when those meetings are, so that I can attend them. For strange reason, that doesn't seem to get around quite often.
Okay. The one main meeting that we attend, we are a member of
Of course
the
we are.
chamber. And the main meeting that we attend is that legislative summit. But we'll make sure that.
And cap to cap.
And cap to
I
cap.
did it 2 years for Sacramento Suburban Water District.
So we'll make sure that those meetings are sent out to you as far as when they
Appreciate
are.
All right, any other, if there are no further questions for the chief, we'll move to ops report. Chief Bridge?
Oh, back again. Good evening. I'll be short for tonight's report. We're tracking right along between every 2-week intervals with these board reports for about 3,500 calls. But recently, the last few days have been with this weather, it's been crazy busy out there, along with the rainfall accumulations we're seeing. But with increased amount of structure fires over the last few weeks as well, we're seeing that it creates more opportunities for us on the roadway. And we were fortunate yesterday with one of our battalion chiefs who got bumped and bruised on a collision at one of our intersections when responding to one of the calls. But happy to report that he's home resting and will be back to work shortly. But just the nature of sometimes as we're rolling to a lot of these calls with the weather the way it is, it's dangerous out there. So the members are doing a fantastic job. We're doing some live fire training right now, and just happy to report that they're taking the training that they're getting and they're applying it on the structure fires. I had the crew members from Medic 62 arrive on Medic 62 arrived first on scene, which is always challenging when you don't have water. But the good news is they do have a 2.5-gallon water can, and it did most of the damage on this fire a couple days ago. So they're doing a fantastic job. I can't be more proud of what they're doing out there. And the other good news is our Saudis who are visiting are getting lots of action these last few weeks too. So all good news to report. So any questions?
I had a question.
Sure.
Have the Saudis integrated their fire departments? You know, I remember at the time women couldn't drive or whatever. Are the fire departments integrated now?
I'm not as familiar with their operations back in Saudi Arabia, but they are integrating very well with our operations. So I do know our. So maybe things are changing.
At least I hope so.
Yeah, I'd like to think so.
We have our next diplomatic assignment to Saudi in front of us.
Yeah.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Chief.
Thank
All righty. Next up, reports, SMFD, Firefighters Local 522. Mr. Trevor Jamison, welcome to the podium.
Good evening, Directors, Chief Harms, Trevor Jamison, Local 522, Metro Vice President. Always a pleasure to be here and address you tonight. Here's a handful of things for you. One, I also want to echo the St. Patrick's Day event. It's a great event to get out there as a group and represent all firefighters from the region and to the community out there. Also, it's fun to introduce it to people from another culture. So it was a good time. Myself, I think last time I addressed you, I just returned from Washington, D.C., and same as I did yesterday, returned from Washington, D.C. Was fortunate enough to go back and represent 522 at the IAFF headquarters and have a full day of training and basically information gathering for not only me as us as labor leaders, but also for the district. One of the great things about the fire service is this, what I'm going to call it the labor management cooperation that's happening right now. We are active. When we're back there, we're not just back there looking for things that are going to assist us from a labor perspective. We're actually back there looking for things that are going to assist the fire department. How can we bring programs, services that will help the fire service Metro Fire in general. So it's a great event. We have plenty of ideas. I look forward to bringing some of that forward in the near future. So it was a very, very nice event, and hopefully you'll see that that cooperation continue. And then I just want to echo the support on the LAFCO Oversight Board, the appointments, Metro Fire. I think it's a great thing for Metro Fire to be involved in, and I hope that will bring us some great things in the future. So I wholly, when 522 wholly supports those appointments to that board. So thank you very much. Unless you have any questions, that's all I have.
Okay, hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to committee and delegate reports. I do have an announcement for the executive committee. We will be meeting Thursday, April 12th at 5 p.m. at these chambers, so mark your calendars. All right, Communication Center JPA, AC Johnson. Good evening, sir, and welcome to the podium.
Good evening, directors. Our last meeting for the Comm Center JPA was on March 12th. We had one issue that was referred to the Personnel Committee for action in which they took, and our next meeting will be on March 27th here in this chambers. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Next up, we have...
But President, I got a question for the chief.
Okay.
I'm beginning to think that's where Hangar 13, I haven't got that communication to come out and visit it yet.
Hangar 13.
But the mysterious one we used to have in the Air Force, you couldn't,
Okay.
nobody could find it.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right,
And,
so noted.
Be expecting, I want to come out and see the site there.
Okay, we'll set up something for you.
Yeah, you know, it's been like a month or so or more.
Okay, we'll work on it.
Okay.
It's a good spot. You'll be impressed.
Good.
You'll be impressed. All right, moving on to California Fire and Rescue Training JPA, DC Shannon. Welcome to the
Good evening. We haven't met since January. We will not meet again until June 21st, 4 o'clock next door in the CESC. Thanks.
All right.
Those are my kind of committees.
And Finance and Audit Committee, Director Kelly, you want a summertime routine as well?
The Finance and Audit Committee met this evening, actually. We received a presentation on our financial report through December. A couple of things are trending up, and we received a few dollars from the GEMT, a little later than we expected, or it was, yeah. Anyways, so things are okay.
All right, thank you for that report. Policy Committee, Director Gould.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our next meeting is scheduled for April 12th, 2018. Just like to make her aware of the fact that we're one down on that committee.
I understand, and as you see, the Executive Committee will probably be meeting a few moments
Yes, I would
before.
encourage you on your 12th meeting to find me a third member, only because oftentimes we find ourselves in a tie vote. Given the amount of policy that comes through our committee, it's concerning.
We will definitely make sure that committee is fully staffed, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. We're going to move to board member questions and comments. And we'll start to my far right. Director Gale, board member questions and comments. The floor is yours.
This is to the chief. Quite often you hear the term Sacramento County, what it is most diverse in the country, and I question that. I consider something to be inversed as well as diverse. And I wonder, do we ever look at our fire department as being diverse or inversed with personnel? Is there an outreach or some special effort has been made to live by that symbol in America that we are diverse, and that kind of rhetoric you have quite often? What effort are we doing?
The district has a long history of recruitment, and through that recruitment program, there has been a emphasis put on diversity. I think that you attended an event just recently.
Yeah, I was proud of our organization. Yeah, yes.
Thank you. And one of the important goals is that ability to mimic the community that we served. I'll be the first to say, though, is that we struggle.
I can imagine.
There's a lot of other folks that we compete with. There is a lot of standards that we are held to, or that we hold the people to that are coming in. So it is always a challenge for us, but it is one of those primary goals within the organization, is how do we fill the ranks and the positions within. And also, as we promote through the organization, is how do we encourage that diversity as we move forward. But as you saw, the members that are out there interacting from the recruitment group, there's probably not a week that goes by that there isn't somewhere I'm on their email group that they're working. But one of the things I think that has happened within the last couple of years is that ourselves and the communities around us have partnership together, and saying together as a group we're stronger. And not that we're trying to steal from one organization to another, but working together, going together. And the city has taken the lead in a diversity work group, and we're a part of that as we move forward. But it is a struggle for us.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Director Gould.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say thank you to all the men and women who work for this agency. Keep up the great work that you do every single day. Thank you.
Director Rosali.
Two things. One, I wanted to thank Amanda for her report earlier this evening. And she and her staff do a fantastic job for us. Second, I was honored to be at the retirement of Chief Walt White. It was a great evening, and Walt is, I think, enjoying a well-deserved retirement. He's done a fine job. So, thank you.
Director Sheets. Oh, you know what? We're going to follow protocol here. We'll go to Director Woods.
Thank you,
Let's go
Madam
down
Chair.
the line.
I just have a couple of things I want to say. For those of you who don't realize it, the Chief Harms's trophy, the $10,000 that he recruited, $10,000 he recovered of the $17,000 that the 6 chiefs did, represents 58% of that work. So that's absolutely amazing when you look at that by percentage. The other thing, the firefighters, staying on the Firefighters Burn Institute, their tropical affair is on June 23rd of this year. The boot drive is one of their biggest fundraisers, but Tropical Affair is another one of their biggest ones. And it's an absolutely awesome time, wonderful time. It's a no-brainer. It's so easy to support the Burn Institute by going. Last year we had 5 of our directors, a number of other staff, command staff and members are also there. But from our perspective, I think we need to do better than 5 of 9, and I hope we do better than that this year. And I hope to see all of you there at the Tropical Affair. Two more things. I was able to go spend some time with the crew at Station 68 on March 11th, and I want to thank Captain Ben Cargill, Engineer J.B. Lee, and Firefighter Dwayne Miller for their hospitality. Got to sit there with them for about 2.5 hours and just listen to their concerns and comments and questions, and had a real good conversation, so I thank them for that. And last, I just want to wish Charlie Jenkins, who's a personal friend of mine as well as one of our chiefs, I just want to wish him a very speedy recovery from his accident yesterday. So thank you.
Thank you, Director Woods. Director Clark?
Yes, Madam Chair, I do not have any comments or questions this evening. Thank you.
Director Kelly?
Nothing from me, thank you.
All right. Director Sheets?
Good evening. I wanted to thank all the presentations, Investigator Barsdale and the Chief Wagman for your presentation. Also Monty for the presentation. That was great. Congratulate Chief Walt on his retirement, and echo the same for Chief Jenkins on a speedy recovery.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I also echo all the comments from all of my directors, my fellow directors, and I accept the challenge to be present at the Tropical Affair. With that, we're going to go to closed session. We thank the audience for their participation. No means, manner, or way do you need to be here when we come back. Thank you all very much. Good evening, everyone. Reconvening to open session. Council, would you please report out on closed session items?
Yes, thank you, Director Jones. The board met on item 1 concerning the workers' compensation claim of employee Robert Bruce. By unanimous vote, the board agreed to give authority to its third-party administrator to effectuate a settlement of that claim. The board also met with legal counsel regarding anticipated litigation under Government Code Section 54956.9 subsection C. No action was taken. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. With that, we'll announce that our next meeting will be April 12th, 6 p.m. in these quarters, and this meeting is adjourned.